Hours before Dr. Dave Weldon was supposed to have his confirmation hearing to be director of the CDC, he was told not to come. And of course, everyone wants to know why. Well, there's really only one reason why this happens, and that's if the administration doesn't think they have enough votes to actually be confirmed. So they found out they didn't have the votes before his confirmation hearing, which should just prove to you that politics is all theater. These confirmation hearings are supposed to be where our representatives go and ask questions and make their opinion from there, but they really just use it as PR. They already have their mind made up before even walking into the room. And the funny thing about this is that Dr. Dave Weldon is not just a doctor, he was also a US representative. So not only does he have government experience, he also has medical experience. Of course, the biggest criticism about RFK Jr. is that he's not a medical professional, and yet, what is the excuse with him? He actually wrote a 4-page response today to give to the press on exactly why his nomination is being pulled. And of course, it came down to 2 senators. Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine, and the chairman of the committee, Bill Cassidy. And he's a funny one because he's also a doctor, so I bet he got a little nervous trying to go one-on-one with another physician. Because when an average person has questions about vaccines and their safety, it's easy to dismiss them as being anti-vax or they're not medical professionals. But what do you say about a doctor who also says that vaccines need to be studied? And that's really what this is all about. In his letter, he talked about how Senator Susan Collins was fine. They talked one-on-one a couple weeks ago, and all of a sudden, a switch flipped in her. And we know why. Reuters posted this article last week trying to scare people, saying the US CDC plans to study vaccines and autism. But when you actually read the article, there's nothing new about it. It just quotes RFK Jr. and Trump in the past saying that we should study vaccines and autism. But they made it sound that CDC is actually doing studies today and already getting on it. So this prompted the media to just blow up about this. Again, even though that this is going to happen anyway. And this person called this out last week, saying Reuters works for Big Pharma. Someone planted this story to inflame Senator Cassidy and give him cover to vote no. You know what's so interesting about that? I actually emailed HHS, sent them that article and said, hey, this is being floated around. Is CDC studying currently or planning to study, like, is it in the works, vaccines and autism? And this is what they sent to me. They said, as President Trump said in his joint address to Congress, the rate of autism in American children has skyrocketed. CDC will leave no stone unturned in its mission to figure out what exactly is happening. The American people expect high-quality research and transparency, and that is what CDC is delivering. So basically, a non-answer. This honestly makes me feel like HHS is in on this. If they weren't preparing those studies today, then why not just come out and say that? Say, like, of course we want to find out why the rate of autism is high, but that will be in the works or something. Like, why give a political answer like this? Okay, going on in Dr. Dave Weldon's statement, I have to get close to it because the print's small, but he's talking about Dr. Bill Cassidy. And he says, ironically, he is also an internist like me, and I have known him for years, and I thought we were friends. But he too was also throwing around the claim that I was anti-vax or that I believe that vaccines cause autism, which I have never said. He actually once asked that my nomination be withdrawn. Can you imagine being friends with someone and then they completely stab you in the back like that? The concern of many people is that Big Pharma was behind this, which is probably true. They are hands down the most powerful lobby organization in Washington, D.C., giving millions of dollars to politicians on both sides of the aisle. He says, many people feel Big Pharma actually feared me more than they feared Bobby because of my credibility and my knowledge of science and medicine. That's exactly what I'm saying, because it was so easy to dismiss RFK Jr. like, oh, he's not a medical professional, but what do you say about an actual doctor who has questions? And he goes on to say that when he was in the House, he and other senators, including Bernie Sanders, pressured the CDC to look at neurotoxins like thimerosal in vaccines. And the CDC published a research study claiming that mercury had done no harm. But there are accusations that the CDC had incorrectly manipulated the data. Ironically, he says, I was hoping to find no evidence of corruption of the science at CDC. Maybe in hearing it from me, members of the public might be reassured and it might help improve the currently somewhat tarnished image of CDC and pharma. What's funny about this whole thing is he actually praises vaccines. He just says that the MMR vaccine should probably be taken later, that we need to study spreading them out because other countries actually give it later in life. I just wish we would put our energy into primarying people who are actually a problem, like Bill Cassidy. He's a doctor that should know better. He should be pro-science. He should be pro-research. If these studies were done correctly, then why is it a problem to just look at them again? Unless there is a problem. So how about we put our energy towards kicking out these people who are the real problem? We'll have to wait and see who President Trump picks next for a director of CDC, and we'll have to see if they are ready to make America healthy again. But as always, let me know your thoughts about this whole mess and make sure you're following me for more.